In the conservative climate of the mid-1950s, the world of cinema was tightly bound by rules of morality and modesty. Film was expected to entertain, to charm, but never to provoke. Then in 1956, a young French director named Roger Vadim presented a film that would break every one of those conventions. And God Created Woman arrived like a spark in dry grass, small, local, and unassuming at first, but destined to ignite a fire that would spread across the globe. The story unfolded in the sunny town of Saint-Tropez, a place that until then had been little more than a quiet fishing village. What Vadim created there was not just a movie, but a new image of womanhood. His wife and muse, Brigitte Bardot, embodied that image completely, free, sensual, and fearless. The film didn't rely on grand sets or special effects. Its power came from something subtler. The way Bardot moved, the way she looked back at the camera, unashamed and unafraid. Audiences had never seen anything like it. Roger Vadim cast Brigitte Bardot as Juliette Hardy, the character who would come to define her entire career. Bardot was 22 years old, and though she had acted before, this was the role that turned her into an international sensation. Her natural confidence blurred the line between performer and character. Around her, Vadim assembled a small but talented cast. Jean-Louis Trintignant, in one of his earliest screen roles, and Kurt Jürgens, the established German actor who lent the film its dramatic tension. Yet despite the presence of seasoned performers, it was Bardot who commanded every frame. She didn't conform to the polished, demure image expected of actresses of the time. Instead, she appeared spontaneous, emotional, and completely alive, qualities that made her irresistible to viewers and threatening to moral guardians. Vadim's direction emphasized this energy. He filmed with a sense of immediacy, capturing natural light and spontaneous gestures. The result felt more like life than performance, and that realism would soon make censors deeply uncomfortable. Juliette is a voluptuous 18-year-old orphan in 1956 Saint-Tropez, France. A hedonist, she makes no effort to restrain her natural sensuality, lying nude, sunning in her yard, habitually kicking her shoes off and stalking about barefoot, and disregarding both societal conventions and the opinions of others. This causes a stir, attracting the attention of most of the men around her and infuriating the women. Sexually charged, she has been intimate with the much older, extremely wealthy Eric Carradine, who promises the bicycle-riding nymph a new car for her favors. He wants to build a casino in Saint-Tropez, but his plans are blocked by a small family-owned shipyard on the stretch of land he needs for the development. Antoine, the eldest of the three Tardieu brothers, whose father had established the yard, returns from Toulon for the weekend to hear Carradine's proposal. Juliette is waiting for the tall, handsome catch to take her back to Toulon with him. His intentions towards her are purely physical, which get temporarily short-circuited when she overhears them. But he assuages her, promises he will meet her on the morning bus, has his way with her, then lets the bus drive right on past her anxious flagging. Exasperated with Juliette's outrageous behavior, her elderly guardians threaten to send her back to the orphanage, which will confine her until she is 21. To keep her in town, Carradine pleads unsuccessfully with Antoine to marry her. He will have nothing to do with it, recognizing what a 3-year sentence back in an orphanage will do to Juliette. His infatuated and naive middle brother, the plain Michel, proposes marriage. Despite her love for Antoine, she accepts. They are wed in a scantily attended church service. Antoine never shows. In a public square afterwards, a local tough insults both Michel and Juliette. Offended, Michel slugs him, only to take a very severe beating. The couple slips by the reception dinner back at the family home, makes passionate love, and Juliette rudely ducks downstairs to load dinner plates and grab a bottle of wine, leaving those in attendance slack-jawed. Carradine buys the large harbor marina, and offers the Tardieus a 30% stake in it to sway the deal with them. Antoine negotiates to run it. With him back in Saint-Tropez, Juliette's behavior becomes increasingly disrespectful toward Michel. When he is gone for the day on business, she takes off in one of the marina's boats. It catches fire from engine trouble, and Antoine swims out to save her. While they are washed up together on a wild beach, she seduces him. Afterwards, Juliette takes to her bed, feverish. She confesses her tryst with Antoine de Christian, the youngest Tardieu brother. When Madame Tardieu, who has always hated Juliette, hears about it, she tells Michel that he has to dump Juliette promptly. Michel goes to their room to talk with her, but she has disappeared. Michel scours the town for her. In a confrontation with Antoine at the yard, he pulls a gun, then fist fights him until Antoine is dazed by an accidental blow to the head. Juliette drifts to a bar and starts slugging double brandies. Her friend Lucienne appears, then alerts Eric that Juliette is making a spectacle of herself. He comes to collect her, offering to whisk her halfway around the globe to laughter and happiness, but she refuses. Michel arrives, gun drawn, but Juliette ignores him and continues her improvised and sexually suggestive dancing with a band of Caribbean musicians. Eric is wounded trying to take the gun from Michel. He has Antoine drive him to a surgeon friend in Nice to keep the local police out of it. En route, Eric reveals his deep feelings for Juliette, but confides to Antoine that girl was made to destroy men. He reminds Antoine to never forget who is boss and tells him he is being reassigned elsewhere. Back at the bar, Michel angrily slaps Juliette hard 4 times. She wrestles a smile that she has provoked him enough to act so strongly. They walk home together hand in hand. When In God Created Woman premiered in Paris, it quickly became the talk of the country. Critics were split. Some hailed it as a daring step forward for European cinema, while others saw it as an outright provocation. France allowed the film to run, but the real controversy erupted abroad. In the United States, censorship boards reacted harshly. The Catholic Legion of Decency condemned the movie as morally perverse, arguing that it promoted indecency and defiance of family values. Several American states, including Texas, New Jersey, and Ohio, refused to issue licenses for exhibition. The Motion Picture Production Code, still strictly enforced at the time, demanded extensive cuts before the film could be shown at all. In some European nations, scenes of Bardot dancing barefoot, laughing, or lying in the sun were censored, not because of nudity, but because of implication. What disturbed censors was the film's attitude, its suggestion that a woman could enjoy her independence and her body without shame. That alone was enough to trigger outrage. Religious leaders condemned the film from pulpits. Newspapers debated whether it marked the decline of moral society, but the bans only fueled public curiosity. Smuggled copies circulated privately, and wherever the movie was shown, theaters filled to capacity. Over time, the outrage faded, but the impact remained, and God Created Woman became a box office phenomenon, introducing the world to Brigitte Bardot and transforming Saint-Tropez into a symbol of freedom and glamour. Bardot's image, natural, carefree, and rebellious, came to define an entire era of modern womanhood. She was no longer just an actress. She was a cultural force. For cinema, the film marked the beginning of a shift. It challenged the idea that sensuality and art could not coexist, paving the way for the more open depictions of love and identity that followed in the 1960s and 1970s. Scholars often cite it as one of the catalysts for the eventual collapse of Hollywood's production code, which had long restricted filmmakers from portraying sexuality or moral ambiguity. Beyond its cultural influence, the film also changed how audiences viewed authenticity on screen. Its natural lighting, coastal setting, and unpolished realism anticipated the style of the French New Wave that would emerge only a few years later. By daring to be honest, By refusing to hide behind polite conventions, Vadim had unknowingly helped reinvent European cinema. And God Created Woman began as a modest French production, yet it became a global turning point. It exposed the tension between morality and freedom, between censorship and expression. To some, it was a scandal, to others, a revelation. But in hindsight, it was simply inevitable, a reflection of a world on the edge of transformation. The film they tried to silence ended up shaping the very conversations they feared. Bardot's barefoot rebellion still echoes through film history, reminding us that cinema's greatest power lies not in what it hides, but in what it dares to show.